So I got back from the range a little while ago with the opportunity to go and shoot a very interesting rifle. This is the Pedersoli Kodiak double rifle. It's a percussion 50 caliber muzzleloading rifle, um, and is one of the, I would say, most accessible ways that somebody can get into shooting a double rifle, which are very often extremely expensive because of the intricate workmanship that has to go into these to make them work right. A friend of mine is downsizing his collection right now, and he was kind enough to let me borrow this for a couple weeks and make a video on it. And I'm happy to share that with you guys because for somebody like myself, this is probably as close to being able to shoot and handle an African double rifle as I'll be able to get. It's a very nice looking rifle. Pedersoli has a couple different variations of this. This, I think, is the more basic model. There's one that's I think this would be the Mark 4 or 5. The Mark 3 is a little bit nicer, in my opinion. It has a more historically correct stock architecture for something that would have been based off a 19th century double rifle for safari. This one is a little bit more, I guess you could say, Americanized in the way it's set up. We have the semi-pistol grip. You have the Uncle Mike sling swivels on this, but overall, I mean, it fits the spirit of that type of rifle pretty well, perhaps with the exception of the sights here, which are the modern, I don't know what you call them, I guess the marbles sight, but definitely not something you would find on a 19th century rifle. One of the things I would probably change on this is going to put like a quarter rib, because this rifle is really, really nice looking. But at least in my opinion, the sights kind of ruin the lines of it. But, I think this one is set up a little bit more for function as a double rifle than it is for actually looking like a 19th century piece. So I was able to get this to the range actually twice now with some mixed results. Before I talk about that, I do want to talk about what I like about this rifle first. So it's really, really nice looking as far as the fit and finish is concerned. The wood to metal fit on this is really good. The checkering, I do think it's probably machine cut, but it's really nice machine cut checkering. You have a real steel butt plate, not a piece of plastic, which is a nice touch, I think, on this. And it's a pretty rifle, and it balances surprisingly well for how much this weighs. Pedersoli on their website says that this weighs at about 11 pounds. In reality, it's actually much heavier than that. It maxed out our kitchen scale. I would probably say that this is closer to a 14-pound rifle, if not maybe a little bit more. It's a heavy, heavy gun. Being 50 caliber, the barrels are very, very thick. They do make 54 and 58 versions of this. The 50 caliber tends to be the less desirable of all of those. And that is, I think, one reason why is this is a very heavy rifle, which does limit its practicality in a lot of ways. At least here in Pennsylvania, you can't hunt during the muzzleloader season with a double rifle. You do have to have, the law specifically states it's got to be a single barrel muzzleloading rifle. Other states have similar restrictions, where others you might actually be able to get away with that. So if you wanted to hunt with it, at least in the United States, you'd be limited to doing it in a regular rifle season. Pedersoli actually sells this sort of as a wild boar rifle, is how they sort of market it. But around here in the Northeast, where we don't have a lot of that, this is more of a fun gun for practical purposes. This is not something I would want to lug around during regular rifle season when I have the choice to bring basically anything else. This would definitely not be my first choice. But it was a fun gun to shoot at the range. Being able to put two 50 caliber slugs down range, in rapid succession out of these double barrels was a lot of fun to do. They're not designed to be, particularly accurate. I mean, this is an express rifle. These are designed for making quick shots at, ranges between 50 and 100 yards, usually at moving targets. And I think the way it's set up, it would do that quite well. I just hope you don't have to hike a long way with this, because it is a very heavy rifle, as I said. But it was a lot of fun. You definitely get to have that experience of what a safari rifle would have felt like. back during those days. But for the sights, I think if somebody wanted to do some serious work with this, number one, I would probably stick with the Mark III version, which is a little bit more historically accurate. And you might want to send it out to a gunsmith to have this rear sight taken off and put a real quarter rib with true express sights on there. I think you'd have a really nice rifle if you want to do that. On to some more things that I don't, wouldn't love on this is it is set up really nicely. I don't like the Uncle Mike sling swivels. I think that kind of cheapens it a little bit. For the rest of the rifle, it's really, really nice. I would have put traditional sling swivels on there just to keep with that historical accuracy bit. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but Pedersoli put a very large import mark on there in sort of this electro pencil font. It looks terrible, and it really kind of ruins the lines of the gun. That could easily be taken off. I think if you did send it to a gunsmith, they could scrape that off and reblue it, put the serial number on the underside of the barrel. It is legal to do, as long as it's legal to do in your jurisdiction wherever you reside. But yeah, I think those are some changes that I would do on this. But again, this is a borrowed gun. This is not one that I picked up. And I'll be honest, it's probably not one that I would pick up. As you'll see in some of the range footage that's coming up, I had a really difficult time getting this to shoot well. I don't remember what the exact twist rate is on these, but at least the 50 caliber version is really not set up for shooting round ball. And that was at least what I found to be the easiest to load. I did try some of the Hornady, I think it's the Hornady Great Plains bullets, which is one of the easiest to find, just a 50 caliber conical. The problem I had with those, in the left-hand barrel, they worked really well. They loaded well, and I was actually able to get a really nice group with those at 50 yards. Unfortunately, I didn't film that with the first time that I was out here. But the right barrel on this seems to be a lot tighter than the left barrel, and I had a terrible time loading them. And by the time I smashed them down to the end of the barrel, I'm sure I totally deformed those slugs so much that they were not accurate. I mean, the group was like 3 times the size with the right barrel as it was with the left barrel, using those in the same load and everything else. So today what I will try to do is move on to shooting some round ball, and I will let you go ahead and see the results of that. But one of the big things that I'll say with a double rifle is there's a reason that this gun, I mean, it's an expensive gun. Brand new, these cost about $1,500. There's a reason that the next least expensive Italian-made double rifle is about 3 times that price. So we'll go to the range footage next. You can draw your own conclusions, and then we'll be back for some final thoughts when all that is done. All right, before we go to the range footage, I just kind of wanted to give a better idea of what this looks like in some natural light, so you can really kind of see the details of the rifle. Like I said, it's got some really plain but nice wood on it. Nice metal butt plates fitted really well to the rifle. Good quality checkering. The locks look really nice. They are case colored, and even though Pedersoli largely uses like a chemical case coloring, these still look pretty good, pretty natural in my opinion. It's got a pin breakdown system. You just push this out and the barrels separate from the rest of the stock and everything. Bluing is really, really nice. Like I said, the 2 big complaints, at least aesthetically, that I have on this thing are the rear sight. As you can see, it's just one of those marble style sights. So it's kind of, I mean, it follows, I guess, the spirit of an express sight, but just the way this looks compared to the rest of the rifle, kind of cheap in my opinion. I mean, these are fully adjustable, so they're good sights, I'm not gonna lie. But were it up to me, I definitely would have gone with like a quarter rib and put a true express V-notch style sights on there. And you could do that, but you're gonna pay somebody at least a few $100s more if you go with like a New England Gunsmith or other similar company. And then it's got the Uncle Mike style sling swivels. I probably would have gone with a more traditional D-loop. The other complaint about it aesthetically that I had was the big import mark that you'll see right here. Just totally throws it off. They could have gone and actually probably stamped that, or done some better engraving rather than some electro pencil style. But you could send that off and have that ground if that was something you really wanted to. But other than that, I mean, you look at the wood to metal finish here. Really, really nice, good looking gun overall. It is a pretty high quality one, I think, but You know, a couple different choices could have made it look a lot better. Starting at 25 yards. Quite a crack on that one, but it looks like they're both right on top of each other. All right, here's the first group from 25 yards. It's this shot and this shot right here. These other ones are from the other rifle I was shooting, so pretty good at 25. I mean, those barrels are pretty much right on top of each other, just a little bit of sight drift over, and we'd be good here. Let's go check out 50. Here we go. All right, same at 50 yards. So here we go. Let's see if we can keep the groups just as tight. All right, let's go check them out. All right, so I was shooting at this target a little bit earlier, so it's a little bit confusing, but it's going to be this guy right here, and then this one over in the corner. So we have a little bit of spread. I don't know if that was me or not. I would love to shoot another group tonight. I just don't have the time to do it. So it looks like we have a little bit of drift at 50. Again, that very easily could have been me. I was kind of rushing to get done here as quick as I could. But maybe we'll try this again at 50 and with a couple more. But that gun was already really starting to foul out. It was actually very difficult for me to load the charge on the right barrel here. So that's could be what that one was, and it could have been deformed because it took so much pounding to get down the barrel. Like I said, could have been me. I'm not sure, but it was not easy to load even after just 2 shots. So, you know, we'll see what we do from here. It might just be a better to shoot with lubed patches and round balls, but maybe some more experimentation if we get the chance. Okay, this is our second time here at the range with this rifle. Hopefully we can get a little bit better results than we did the first time out with it. Again, we're just using a regular .490 round ball with a patch over a charge of 70 grains of Go X3F. It should be a pretty good one-size-fits-all for a rifle of this size, I would think. You know, going any heavier on the powder charge, I just wouldn't be interested in shooting something like that. I know a lot of guys who have to go up to 110 grains to get any accuracy out of these 50 caliber ones. Hopefully that's not the case with this one. What we're going to be doing is going to shoot 3 shots with this load out of the left barrel, followed by 3 shots with the same out of the right barrel, to again try and get a good idea of where each barrel is able to group and to hopefully find where that crossover point might be. The factory says that these cross over at 75 yards. Based on my first test with this, that seemed to be accurate, but again, not having good results from that right barrel the first time out, hopefully this will remedy that and give us a better idea of what this might look like. So I have this loaded up already. We're going to give it a go. And again, even with 70 grain of a really tightly patched round ball on there, it's a pussycat to shoot. With a rifle this heavy, it's actually quite pleasant even from the bench. So let's continue on and see where we end up with this charge out of the left barrel. All right, here's where we are with our left barrel group. Truly, I was hoping for better than this. This is a pretty big target. You know, here's kind of my thumb for scale, but 1, 2, 3. You know, the first time I was out with this, I was able to get all groups right here with the conical type bullet without the patch. So it's really not working that well with the round ball, which is really unfortunate because that really would make this a lot easier to shoot. However, like I said, I think that right barrel was quite a bit tighter. So we're going to make note of where these are, and we're going to try the same load with the right barrel. This might be something where you just have to really crank up the powder charge like I was seeing a lot of guys were saying you have to do with this. We'll give it another try with the 70 with the right barrel. right off the bat, I can tell you that the trigger for this right barrel is way heavier than the one for the left barrel. So that kind of inconsistency is not good on a rifle like this. To maximize the potential on a double rifle, everything needs to be consistent. The charge needs to shoot relatively similar from both barrels. I mean, having to use 2 different charges for each barrel to get the best accuracy really kind of defeats the purpose of this thing. I mean, they put 2 sights on here, which is really supposed to be for different distances. But again, I've seen guys who have to calibrate each sight individually to each barrel, which, you know, for what you're trying to do with a rifle like this, not awesome. So. I'm seeing that is much harder to load than the second charge was on our left barrel test. All right, last one. All right, so I had to do some editing on that third loading there just because it took a very long time. Like I said, this bore definitely feels tighter than the left one. So again, we have that problem of consistency between the 2 barrels. Let's give it one more shot, and we'll see if our shots are at least landing in a sort of similar place. That's a heavy trigger. That one on the left barrel is nice and smooth. This one is heavy, heavy, heavy. All right, let's go see where we ended up. All right, I am not exactly sure. I think I have one here, and oh, sorry, one there. You can see it there. And I can't tell if I got another hole in hole here. So we definitely got a hole in hole there, one here. I don't think that's me, but yeah, not great. So the barrel is, it looks to me like at least the right barrel is already crossing the left one at 50 yards, at least according to this test. The last test I did wasn't that way, so maybe this load is just really poor for this gun, and if you crank it up, it does work a little bit better. But I'm not finding the kind of accuracy that I want out of this rifle with the round balls, and it didn't really load very well with the conicals. So I don't know. I don't know how you win with this. Maybe you really crank up the powder charge with this. If I have time, I'll try that again. But I've got to move on to something else here. This was at least a good introduction, but I think I've gotten from this what I wanted to see. It's one of those things where you do get what you pay for, and even though this is a pretty expensive rifle, you're not getting the kind of consistency and quality that you really need to make a double rifle work like a double rifle should. So, final thoughts on that coming up next, unless I do find some time to get this out with, I don't know, maybe we'll bump it up to 90 grains of 3F. We'll see what happens. So I think the lesson here with the Pedersoli Kodiak is that very often you do get what you pay for. You know, in my experience here, in the limited testing that I was able to do, the consistency between the left and right, the regulation, you know, be it the bore size, the triggers, it's just not there. I think even if you were to put time into a gun like this, at least with this one here, you're going to have a difficult time finding a load that works well in both barrels. I did, at the end of the range footage, I did go back and I tried the 90 grain charge in both of them, and the groups with the round ball were exactly the same. It did not make any kind of improvement, bumping the powder charge up from 70 to 90. And like I said, I know that there's guys who have to go up beyond 100 grains before they can find good groups, and that's just not something that I'm interested really in doing with this, is burning that much powder. So a lot of things about this are a lot of fun. You know, it's the takedown with the key is awesome. It's really true to the historical ones, and it makes cleaning really easy. I mean, you pop a pin and you take this apart, and the barrels are free. You've got the actions to work on. It's really easy to do that, and it's just like the original. So the spirit is there, but I just don't think that for the price, it's still a very expensive rifle, that you're going to get the craftsmanship and the time to put into this that you would need to have a double rifle be a high performer. So, you know, you might get half of these that come off the line that work great, but then you're going to have another half that just don't. I mean, we definitely have some true differences in how left and the right barrel are shooting. I don't think you could find a consistent load that's going to work very well with both of them. Maybe with more time and effort you could, but fortunately that's just not something I have. I mean, this was a borrowed gun. I'm thankful for the opportunity that I had to be able to shoot this, but you know, ultimately, is this one that I would put in my collection? I would say probably not. I mean, for the price that they're asking, I think it's kind of a big risk to spend that much money on something like this and have the risk that it's just not going to perform. There's a reason that a double rifle is so expensive. It is a lot of time and effort and human labor to, number one, just get the barrels to regulate where you want them to. This one's factory set at 75 yards. Based on the testing with the conicals, I kind of believed that it was, you know, going to be close, but I couldn't get it to shoot with the round ball, and I couldn't get the right barrel to load with the conical very well. So, you know, either way, I'm kind of in a losing position here. So, you know, is this one that I would add? Definitely not at full price. I know at least with the 50 calibers, they don't hold their value very well. I mean, this is a super, super niche gun. There's not a whole lot of people who would spend that kind of money on something like this. I would say only a real hardcore, you know, muzzleloader shooter, or somebody who's, you know, a true enthusiast of, you know, the safari era and hunting in Africa. But even then, you're not getting a 100% historical accurate copy of what a gun like that would have been. The sights are different. At least with this one, the stock configuration is a little different. There's models that you can make those changes if you're willing to put even more money into a gun like this. But, you know, those are the kind of folks who I think this would appeal to. Your average hunter, this is almost 15 pounds. Nobody's going to want to lug this around during rifle deer season. As a muzzleloader, if you can use it in you know, legally where you are, it'd be a cool muzzleloader to take out hunting. But, you know, like I said, the wild boar is sort of how this is marketed. So perhaps you've got pigs in your area you could shoot something like this with. More power to you if you do, just not something that I have around me to really make a practical use of something like this. So either way, you know, I'm glad I was able to do this. This was, like I said, perhaps as close for many, many years as I'll ever get to being able to shoot a true double rifle. And I did have some fun with it. It was frustrating that it didn't perform as well as I thought it probably could have. But, you know, maybe some of you guys are interested in getting one and you'll have better luck. And if you do, please, I encourage you to share it, because these are really cool guns, and if they work well, you know, this is an accessible way for somebody to get into that safari double rifle, you know, without spending a used car payment on it. So that's great. You know, I'm glad that these are on the market, and I hope that if you guys have them, you have a better shot at getting them to work than I did here. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.